So what can you tell us about Kazu Jones and the Comic Book Criminal, which will be available April 21st of 2020?
So this is one that I haven't pitched very much. So Kazu and her mystery squad have been hanging out at a comic book store called the Super Pickle, which belongs to March's uncle. And it's struggling, and it has been for a while, like some comic book stores do. And he's really afraid that he's going to have to close up shop if a vandal who's targeting comic book stores hits his store. And so March is super passionate about catching this vandal who's targeting comic book stores. And so he convinces the team to try to track down this graffiti artist who's targeting comic book stores with anti-comic graffiti. And as they dig in a little bit more, they realize that this is actually tied to a big comic book franchise that's been turned into a movie. And this person's trying to get revenge and for something that happened in the past. And so they're trying to track it down before it reaches an explosive end. There's also kind of a personal element. Kazu's working on a second case where her mom is in bed. She's sick with a mystery illness, and Kazu feels like she needs to figure out what's got her mom down so that she can solve it. And so she's kind of running two cases at the same time.
So she's got to be Sherlock Holmes and Gregory House.
That's right. That's right. And the thing that I love about this book is you're a comic book fan, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I thought that you mentioned that. But so my family is super, super nerdy. We like role-playing games. We like comic books, comic book stores. We've been to like Comic-Con 5 different times, not like it's FanX, the one that's in Utah. And my son for a while loved graffiti artists. And so I feel like I was able to put all that stuff into one book as kind of a celebration of all the things geeky that my family has loved. So that was kind of fun.
Excellent. Are you, without the family, just you seeking out all the comic books and all the comic movies and all that stuff?
No, I didn't before I had sons. And then I had two boys who were each kind of obsessed with Marvel. And they both loved Spider-Man separately. Like I've made probably 7 Spider-Man birthday cakes. I've bought probably 20 Spider-Man costumes, and they've worn them out. They've both loved Spider-Man. And then Marvel, they both kind of expanded into loving Marvel. And then they met my husband before we got married. And my husband is like super geek extraordinaire. He had hundreds of comic books. He has hundreds of board games, and he's kind of an elitist. He doesn't we don't own Monopoly. We don't own Scrabble. It's like all like fancy games. A lot of them that he's gotten on Kickstarter. He's super gamer. He also loves role-playing games. And so my sons, it was like, oh my gosh, all this cool stuff. They got super excited. My husband played like Magic the Gathering for a while. I don't know if you know that game, but he...
Oh, yes, all too well, unfortunately.
Yeah, so my son really got into that. My husband liked Doctor Who, so my son really got into Doctor Who. In fact, he dressed like the 10th Doctor for like 3 years. It was pretty intense. He's 18 now, and some people still call him the Doctor, and he gets a little mad. He says, "Mom, why did you let me do that?" But so we've been through our geeky stretches, and it was fun. It was fun to include some of that stuff. Probably left to my own devices, I wouldn't have. But now that my family has kind of exposed me to it, I do love all the Marvel movies and have my favorites, and so yeah.
It exposed you to all the finer things.
Yes. The things I never knew existed. So
things like Magic the Gathering, Dungeons and Dragons, any kind of role-playing game where I've dipped my toe in the past. has been something I've kind of had to step back with because there's enough of that's like writing and preparing your character and doing all of your research I feel like I'm at work. This is supposed to be the fun thing I'm doing, and now I just have another novel going.
That's right. That's right. Well, I think because my husband would like to write a novel, and I keep telling him, you've got to stop playing Dungeons and Dragons then, because I think that becomes the creative outlet. And all of a sudden he's spending he put together a campaign for us that we were doing, and it's just funny how much time he puts into it. And I just think maybe we shouldn't do this. You should write a novel instead. Because
I mean, I should point out that's probably a me problem, because obviously George R.R. Martin, hugely successful dungeon master. I know that's Brian true. Keene plays Dungeons and Dragons pretty regularly and records some of his better episodes. I never get tired of recommending other podcasts that a esteemed audience can be listening to right now. But if you check out The Horror Show with Brian Keene, which is one of my favorites, every so often he'll do a live Dungeons and Dragons game, and that guy writes much faster than I ever will. So it's totally possible to do. I just don't possess enough free brain power to do it.